Hello, welcome back and thanks for joining me. It's Judy from Thistledew Creations, and today I wanted to share a flip through of my recent thrifting find. I was quite giddy when I saw this in a shelf of cookbooks that were on sale at the Mission Thrift in Coburg, and I recognized the Country Diary first, and then I looked at the picture, and then I saw Edith Holden, and I just almost didn't know what to do. I was beside myself with joy. So I grabbed it and threw it right in my cart. It wasn't on sale. It was blue and red day yesterday, but that's fine. That's very fine with me. $2.19. It's in really good shape. I don't know if it would have originally had a jacket or not. The older, this is probably from the 80s. The older version of the diary that I bought online on eBay had a jacket. And I've done a flip through of that one, so I'm not going to show you that again. I just wanted to show you together. This is a modern version that my sister got for me, I think off of Amazon. So I really love this one too because it's purple and it's just, it's beautiful. I've done flip throughs of both of these, so you can go back and look at those, and I'll link them below for you. But I wanted to show you what's in the Cookery notes, and I didn't even know this existed. I knew that there was a couple of other books. This is the Country Diary, both of these, and then there's another one with field notes, I think it's called, or something like that. Anyway, this is Cookery notes, and these were written back in the early 1900s and then printed by her descendants, I believe, in the 80s. They might have started in the late 70s with the diary and then maybe had more of her notebooks and then published more of them when they realized that they were going to sell. That's how I imagine the story from what I've read. So the cover pages are quite plain, which was a little disappointing. Like this one's really pretty. And the old original one, it was just brown. So that's what makes me think this was in the 70s, because those colors were really popular in the 70s. Yeah, this actually even says third impression, September 77. So late 70s and in the early 80s is when these were being reprinted or reprinted. So we've got, it was originally $10 at some sale, but I was surprised to see the same like botanical drawings. I thought it would maybe be more food plants that she would draw in the Cookery notes. So I don't know where the recipes came from, if they were hers or not, but I'm thrilled to have more of the botanicals anyway. I wouldn't be quite as thrilled if it was pictures of vegetable garden plants. I like the botanicals better. So here we have hazelnuts, which is a food. But you've got your table of contents, just like normal books. And let's see if I can figure out when this one, I think it's 84. That's the only date on here is 84. And then you've got all these neat frames. Usually there's some writing at the top and then one of the drawings at the bottom. Some blank frames that you can use, and she's basically got like a diary up at the top left on each page. So visited a small wood in the canal bank, on the canal bank, to get violet leaves. On moving away some of the dead leaves lying beneath the trees, I discovered a wild arum plant. But then the picture on this page is garlic, common garlic. So we have soups, and then again, sharp frost and thick fog. In the early morning, the fog cleared off about 9:30 a.m. and the sun shone brightly. Went for a country walk. Every twig on every tree and bush was outlined in silver tracery against the sky. Some of the dead grasses and seed vessels growing by the roadside were especially beautiful. And we have more common garlic. I saw great flocks of rooks and starlings down on the fields, and a pair of beautiful bullfinches in a hawthorn bush. The green leaves are out on the woodbine too, making little spots of green among the undergrowth. Dull day with slight drizzle of rain in the morning, but bright and mild in the afternoon. I've got another beautiful, it's got dragonflies in it. I swept the space free on the lawn and strewed it with bread and rice. Crowds of birds came. I counted 8 tits at one time on the coconut and the tripod of sticks supporting it. And we have little butterfly corner things you can do with corner pockets or something. Heard the lark singing for the first time this year. Cycled to Packwood through Solihull and Bentley Heath. I passed a rookery on the way. The rooks were all very busy building up their old nests, and a great deal of chatter they made over it. I saw a little robin gathering materials for its nest at one place on the bank, and further on a thrush and a beakful of long straws. A couple of butterflies in that one. Everywhere the branches of the willow bushes were tipped with downy white balls, and the alder catkins were shewing very red. In the garden of Packwood Hall, adjoining the churchyard, the borders were full of large clumps of single snowdrops. I brought away a great bunch. Another day of bright sunshine. The leaf buds in the hedges have been making wonderful progress these last 3 days of sunshine, and the elm blossom has opened out wide, showing all its little anthers and filaments. There were numbers of flowers just opening. I only found one blossom fully expanded. The beds of white violets and the bank where the white periwinkle used to grow that I had come to see were some way off the road. Among the notes of the numerous birds, I recognized those of the thrush, blackbird, hedge sparrow, skylark, wren, great tit, chaffinch, greenfinch, red waptail, and yellow bunting. The latter was specially conspicuous, perched up on the top of the hedge. After a wet, windy day, we woke this morning to a regular snowstorm. The air was full of whirling flakes, but in the midst of it all, I heard a skylark singing. On the way home, I found a robin's nest in the bank of the lane. It was evidently just finished. This is the first finished nest I've seen this year. The sun has brought out the green leaf buds on the trees, and hedges very rapidly. There is a marked difference in the sycamore and hawthorn the last few days, and the larch is beginning to hang his tassels forth. Another glorious day. Cycled to Knoll. On the way, found some marsh marigolds and blackthorn in blossom. The tadpoles have come out of their balls of jelly and career madly about the aquarium, wagging their little black tails. Apple blossoms. Travelled down to the Stoke Bishop near Bristol. The low-lying fertile lands round the Avon in Worcestershire were golden with marsh marigolds, and as we went through the Gloucestershire, the banks were starred with primroses, and I saw many good cowslips. The plum and damson trees were all in blossom. Painted the pony and colt all morning in the field. Very hot sun and cool breeze. Saw a beautiful peacock butterfly and some purple orchis in flower. Another brilliant day. Saw a pair of house martins. Watched some trout in the leat, and found a chaffinch's nest nearly finished in a young hawthorn. Pink campion in bloom. Walking through the fields, came upon quite a grove of young cherry trees in blossom, growing all along the top of one of the banks. Here, the gorse and blackthorn blossom was very fine, and in the bogs we found marsh violets and the small water crowfoot, but there were very few of the bog flowers out as yet. In the afternoon, went to Huckworthy Bridge that spans the river Walkham, downhill all the way. In the meadows beside the river, I was surprised to find the blue alkanet already in blossom, just where I found it in July last year. We walked 4 miles through the woods to Plym Bridge at the far end of the vale. A water ousel skimmed across the river and in under the archway of the old grey stone bridge, every cranny of which was green with tiny ferns. Not the nooks, just the crannies. Watch the sunset behind the hills from the top of Yana Dawn Down. Gorgeous gold and purple clouds near the horizon and up above clear golden sky. I love this border here. A native of Dowsland showed me a bank covered with gorse and briars where he said he was sure a bramblefinch was building. I only know this bird by reputation, so mean to go again and watch for it. The cuckoo has been heard long ago in other parts of the county, but up here on the moors we have not yet heard it. Honeysuckle, beautiful. In Somerset, the meadows were yellow with cowslips. These flowers are not found in Devon, except in the northern borders of the county. Farmers will tell you the soil is too good for them. Warm southwest wind with heavy fall of rain gathered some wild pear blossom and the first cowslips I have picked this year. Saw 2 hen blackbirds sitting on their nests, one in a hollow tree. I saw a pair of whitethroats today down Widney Lane. They were evidently rivals and were chasing each other through the bush and singing loudly all the time. By the Blythe, I saw a very handsome pair of black-headed buntings. The crabapple trees and bushes are looking very beautiful now, covered with pink blossom and crimson buds. I brought home a big bunch of bluebells, red campion and wild-beaked parsley. The latter is showing its white umbels of blossom in every hedgerow. The ground was covered with wild arums, all in flower, their pale green spathes, gleaming out very conspicuously against the red earthen banks where the rabbits burrow. I noticed the flower just coming on the beach, scarcely distinguishable from the tender green of the foliage. Oak apples are plentiful now on the oak trees. I also gathered the yellow weasel snout, lady's mantle, field scorpion grass, and the garlic, the latter just breaking through its green sheath. The common was covered with short grass and fuse bushes, not sure, and smelled deliciously of thyme, though we found none quite in flower. There were any number of little flowers growing in the turf, I don't know what that word is, quantities of purple and red milkwort, tormentil, meadow lousewort. It's hard when the word is broken up to have it flow off your tongue. Sweet violet, that's pretty. There were great numbers of birds, chiefly linnets and warblers, flitting about among the firs. I also noticed a pair of whinchats and some titlarks. I gathered some figwort and celery-leaved crowfoot this afternoon in a ditch in Elmdon Park. Also found the bittersweet black bryony and creeping cinquefoil in flower. Wild guelder rose, elderberry, and wild angelica in blossom. Saw the first wild rose in bloom, a fine pink one on the top of a high hedge, also blackberry in blossom. The roses and honeysuckle are full of bud, but they are late in bloom this year, owing to the long spell of cold weather. If you hear the cuckoo, you begin to run and count the cuckoo cries, and continue running until out of earshot. You will add as many years to your life as you count calls. At least so the old women tell you in Devonshire. Glorious day after a day of heavy rain. On my weekly ride to Knoll, saw the following flowers in bloom since I passed through the lanes a week ago. Field Natia, small Cebius nipplewort, water dropwort, corn sow thistle, creeping plume thistle. Cycled through Strather and Lochernhead to St. Fillan's at the head of Loch Earn. Haymaking going on in all the valleys, many of which are flooded with the continuous rains. The berries on tree and bush are beginning to make themselves conspicuous, notably the rowans, wild raspberries, which are very plentiful in the highlands, and the hips of a species of wild rose, which has very large crimson fruit. There were numbers of starlings running around about the cattle as they were feeding. Following the animals all around the field, they seemed to be picking up the insect, disturbed by the animals in browsing. The lake is noted for the number of large pike it contains. The walls of the little inn parlor on the edge of the lake are hung round with fine stuffed specimens in cases. Most of the chestnut trees were green and vigorous with wonderful twisted trunks and covered with fruit, as were the nut trees. Blackberries are plentiful, and there is a rich harvest of berries of all kinds. Walking through the fields today to Elmdon Park, I saw numbers of the little blue blossoms in the field speedwell. These and mayweed, pink campion, and a few belated blackberry blossoms were the only wild flowers I saw. Hips made a great display all along the route, especially on a wild piece of common land we crossed, covered with gorse and briars. I noticed great numbers of finches here feeding on the berries. I was shown some wonderfully fine specimens of the parasol fungus today, pale fawn, flecked, and shaded with darker tones of the same color. I just love the way they included her diary element into it, and I hope you were able to look at the recipes as I was flipping through. So I can't wait to dig in and cut this book up. I know it's a shame. I almost don't want to cut it up until I have another one, a spare one. I already have 2 of these and I haven't been able to cut them up. But I did also purchase, I don't know if it was on Etsy or eBay, an entire book of this one, but in the soft cover, so it's slightly smaller pages, and it was already torn up into single pages. So I'm using those ones in a personal journal that I haven't really shown on YouTube yet, but I probably will eventually when I get a few more pages of it done. But yeah, I was really thrilled. $2.19. I'll take that all day. It says it was printed in Italy, which is interesting to me. She was from England. So if any of you people that are from England, I'm sorry if I've pronounced a bunch of things wrong. That's the first time I've read it through, so I was, just stumbling through some of the words. But this is going in my little stack up on my bookshelf with my finished journals. And I'm quite thrilled to have it in my collection. And eventually, someday, maybe I'll use some of those pictures because I just love them. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll link the flip throughs for these other books. Now, I didn't read those. I might do another series where I read the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. my voice doesn't feel great today, so maybe sometime when I'm home and I'm alone and it's calm and I can maybe read half an hour at a time of the book. I took this with me, the new one. I took it with me on our trip to Ottawa in May and just read it while Brian was driving. So I just read through it and just in my head read through it and admired the pictures and really, really enjoyed it. Something we don't often take time to do with these treasures is actually look at them and read them. You just covet them. So I'm really thrilled with this acquisition for my collection. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Most of all, have a great day and happy crafting.